The bed is now finally in its position. It's actually bolted to the stand now, and we can start properly assembling. Worth noting, you need to give yourself plenty of room if you're going to be dismantling it. It's not such a problem if you're going to do this off of the stand and then plonk it on. I can't do that because I don't have a hoist. And the reason I started to dismantle this in the first place was to allow me to put it in place piecemeal. As it's worth noting also, as I reassemble everything, I'm cleaning all of the screws quite thoroughly with brake cleaner. But before I actually put them in, I'm coating, just wiping some ACF 50 on the screw threads. A little bit of oil will do, WD-40, anything like that, just so that they're not completely dry. When these things are assembled, they're absolutely covered in oil. And where you have dissimilar metals, it's always good to put something in so that, you know, if you need to get it apart in the future, you don't have any problems with the material seizing. You do have to bear in mind that any lubricant you put on the thread will make it easier for the thing to be tightened up, so you mustn't over torque it. But as long as you're careful, it shouldn't be a problem. Got the gearbox back on. Mentioned it before, but worth mentioning it again. Whenever I do any screws up, I always use a torque wrench. Just use a standard torque figure for that fixing and that material. It's really to make sure that the torque on all of these fixings is even, so you're not over tightening one particular bolt, and it puts less stress into the whole structure if everything is torqued down evenly. Getting there. Having a look at the motor plate and the state of the pulley, that might explain the horrible noises that's coming from it, because I think it's part of the belt. It's going to need a bit of scrubbing to get that off and clean that up. Then I should give that a coat of wax before I put it back. This is a view inside the head and inside the electronics box. There's plenty of room in there with the module mounted on the back. Probably more room than there was before, because these wires are now down here rather than up there, and you can route them nicely, and these will be fixed so they're out of the way. Power lead comes in there and goes up there by the fan. Yeah, it's worked out really well. And on the back, now you've got the heatsink that can properly work, and the fan down there that will cool the motor when required. The fan actually works really well. You've got a nice bit of air blowing directly over the motor if it's required. I can turn it off up there. I was going to put a separate switch somewhere, but that's probably not necessary. If the master switch is off, then it'll all be off. If I'm doing any work that's, you know, particularly using slow revs, then I can turn it on. I'll see how it goes. It might not be necessary, but it's there if it's required. and we make progress. I can't do much until I get the main shaft back, which the original is actually bent. Then I can build up the rest, put the pulley on, and actually test it out. No point in trying to power it up because there won't be any reading from the sensor. The gears as they come are just cut and not deburred. Very, very sharp. They mesh okay, but what I do is deburr all the faces and polish the gears. They're nice to handle. Not that you're going to handle them, but smooth gears means a smooth gear train. And just say, takes about half an hour with a needle file and a bit of patience, and then just polish them with a Dremel. And then, you know, they're fairly rough to start with, but they are better for it, I'm sure. Finally, the gear train is back, and it was worth the effort because without any grease on it, it's just much smoother. Not actually sure whether I should put some grease on that or just some oil. Any views? Let me know. Couldn't find anything in the manual. Next problem is getting the cover to fit, because originally this was all cock, because they just threw it in and there's such huge clearance holes in there. Now I've got it all nice and aligned and straight. The cover fits, but it's tight, so I'll probably need to open out the holes in the cover a little bit. Making good progress now.